I just have to tell you, like, it almost makes me cry because I was so enraged watching how you were treated. And, it's disgraceful. This is disgraceful. I don't even know any other way to say it. But before we get too into it, I just have to know, are you and Josie brother and sister?
Oh, in spirit for sure.
Okay, because I thought it
I would
was you
be
and
grateful
Josie
to
brother
be
and sister.
associated with her passion and for the well-being of others is beyond, and I'm so inspired by being around her, and I'm so thankful to be around her.
No, okay, but you're not related is the point.
No,
Okay, okay, because I thought you were
she's a
related.
Louisiana girl. I'm an Illinois boy, so
Okay, okay.
Brian, it appears that there is this growing movement outside the two-party duopoly. It's pretty obvious. And one thing that the Green Party has always had a very hard time with is shaking its tree hugger image, if you will. Not that we are not pro-environment, but
Again, with the negative hippie speak.
you got to
Stop.
let me have my moment, sister. So ostensibly what's happening here, and I think it's a genius move because I do think that there is something to be said for, as you often say, Jen, most people need upper management. They need somebody to lead them. And so between yourself, Josephine, Anthony Aguilar, Greg Stoker, it does seem that there is this movement, this anti-war movement that is coming from those that actually served in combat. Can you talk about the implications of what that means and perhaps the responses you've been getting from fellow cadets, former and current?
I'm feeling as if there's needed to be a change, and personally, and I'm so motivated to see that it's resonating with other people, like you said, with Greg Stoker and Tony also running in. There's a lot of unconventional candidates stepping up to run for elections, and I really see that's just a obvious product of the times and what our government's done up until this point. And we're finally waking up, and we're finally had enough with them not being checked or not doing what we're asking for them to do.
One of the things that is going to become a lot more obvious, if it isn't already, is whether or not anyone witnessed what actually transpired this past week. Most people are probably not going to bother to watch, but they are going to read headlines like this. And this type of disingenuous reporting, that's putting it nicely, always used with very specific language, not to wind up with a lawsuit. Lord knows some of them are asking for it. But when the New York Post, and again, no surprise from them, GOP Senator Tim Sheehy helps Capitol Police remove a protester. They're so pro-military until the person actually doesn't follow the war path, who allegedly injured 3 cops and appeared to break his own arm because, you just were getting tired of, having good use of it. So, maybe if you broke it, it would heal back better. They've heard those reports before. But what does it say to you when they feel that they, even with actual footage of what happened, and yet they still want to push this propaganda? What does that say to you in terms of their ability to maintain the narrative?
It reveals such the infinite lengths they'll go to try to deny or project false narratives to maintain their narrative. And I think that's degrading as time goes on. I think the next generation, the younger generations, are becoming so internet savvy that they can pick out deceit a mile away. That's at least my hope, and that's truly what I think. And like my sister said, she's read some articles about me, and knowing the person or the subject, and then reading how the authors can spin things is just an insight to how off target media can be. And I just think we can amplify that and inform people to know that it's easily managed by those who control the media, and it should just highlight how information is power. And if we continue to expose how all our media groups are very controlled by very few people, and how Zionists have taken over CBS and Paramount Plus and other big media groups just recently, and Benjamin Netanyahu talking about the eighth front with the social media department being made, and just the amount of bots. I think the younger generation is really up to speed and is prepared for this, and I really hope that we can make a brave departure from the duopoly and move on to a third party, or even more, and just upgrade our choices, because for the last 3 or 4 elections we've just making the prisoner's choice with the lesser of two evils, and that's just unacceptable, being that we're in the best country in the world. So I just hope that the disappointment can spur us on to insist on change and insist on something, and if we become so fed up, then I think it's time for a third party. And I understand Democrats really have a hesitancy to want to vote green or vote third party because it feels like you're throwing your vote away. Well, in my case, in North Carolina, Governor Cooper has already started to try to deny this resolution number 1, which would stop arming Israel, or have America stop arming Israel. And the North Carolina Democrats worked very hard to table this, or to have this issue approved. And Governor Cooper and Josh Stein are already insisting they're not going to approve it. So that's just blatant not listening to your people. And again, just one of the many reasons why we have to wake up to the duopoly being bought out by corporations, and we need a free and clear party like the Green Party that doesn't take any money like that. And so, all that being said,
Okay.
I hope the people are brave enough to make that move, and fed up enough to make that move.
Well, I think you inspire that, but I also wanted, and without any details, but as an attorney, I just want, you have a good lawyer, right? You got a good lawyer?
Yeah,
Okay.
we got a great
That's
lawyer.
all I want to know. I just want to make sure you have a good lawyer, because the people in the chat want to make sure that you know that you're entitled to action. Okay. And I know that you can't give a lot of any information about that, but I feel good knowing you have a good lawyer. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. It's always when I'm always going to check that first.
For sure.
What's been the response from fellow Marines in particular after what happened?
I got a Marine chat group. We've done a couple of reunions lately. Sorry about this. And I was detained, and my phone was unavailable to me. So they had a long chat going while I was detained, and I read through the chats, and I was just so overwhelmed with their support and brotherhoodness and their comments. And so those guys, they have my back. I've got a lot of emails from veterans through my campaign website. Overwhelmingly 98% support, genuine, long drawn out messages telling me we agree with you 100%, 1000%. We're so proud of what you did. You spoke for so many of us, those kinds of messages. And so I was just so overwhelmed and happy to read that, and assured that is the sentiment of a lot of Americans. And so that felt good to hear, and it's a good sign, I think.
Let me ask you, because we were just talking about this before you came on, and I have been noticing, and specifically because of people like you and people like Anthony and Greg, there seems to be a rift within military, among veterans, among active duty people, that this is not what people signed up for. And I think that I'm seeing that more and more. And then you hear things about, well, what was going on the carrier in terms of them like sabotaging the plumbing or whatever, they were doing. And it makes me think like, okay, we're in a whole different time where they have access to the information to some extent. They have access with the outside world, their social media, like they see what is going on in there in terms of, is there somewhat of a rift that's happening? I mean, am I imagining this?
It's so hard to tell. I hate to say this, but it's been 25 years for me or so since I've been in. the military is such a different environment than the citizen world. And so that's a big separation. And yes, the culture is different from when I was in the military. So this is all makes it hard for me to be able to give you an insight. But those are good points. With the ever increasing of availability of internet access, even when you're on a deployment and more connected to the world news and things, I wonder if that has an effect. I do have hope that these younger generations are more internet savvy, more informed, have a little bit more critical thinking skills. Our government is giving them less, so they don't have as much reason to give them a pass on things. I think they'll hold the government to the coals because they can't afford house, they can't afford much, and so also we just have a long history since the Twin Towers of this war campaign, and we've had a lot of time for holes to be poked in their story, and 9/11 is full of holes. One I'd like to mention is how these firefighters' wives spent millions of dollars trying to ask for accountability and go through the judicial system for proper investigations, and they were quieted with even billions of dollars, and the lengths that have been taken to just quiet everybody, it can't help but build suspicion. And so yeah, I think there could be some dissension between our ranks in the military. That's a big point of contention. I feel hesitant to want to speak about that because I know there's so much fear indoctrinated in the casual American citizen. I go saying, become a conscientious objector, and then people are going to say, hey, you're depleting our defense. But I'm coming from a place where we're America. We have the largest military in the world. Let's give that a little faith and not act scared and react on fear, and don't let this fear mongering narrative affect us. But yeah, I'm rambling, but I have a nephew in the Marines. Of course I care about his well-being, and I'm scared for him and how they'll utilize him. I have other friends that are active in the military, and so I have concern for all those. And those are just, to circle back, those are the reasons why I acted out at the briefing at the Senate halls. But
I think you did what needed to be done. I think in so many respects, you have become a symbol for what often is not the focal point, which hadn't been, pretty much since Vietnam, which is they cannot afford to have somebody in uniform, especially a Marine, saying that this is wrong, because then people start to think.